Hello to everyone, and welcome to our webinar on solutions for remote collaboration in design and manufacturing. And this is our weekly Q&A session number 4. Today we have a large group of Autodesk employees on the call who will present an overview and quick recap about our solutions and also answer all of your questions. My name is Anton Fedosiev, and I'm the content strategist for Autodesk Customer Success Organization. Before we jump into the main agenda, I wanted to remind you that the session is recorded and you will receive the recording of this presentation, as well as the full version of the all solutions that we covered earlier in the previous sessions after the call. The goal of this session is to provide a quick recap of what was covered, but also give you a chance to ask questions about any challenges that you have around accessing the software, working remotely, anything that you have on your mind. Please use questions panel to submit your questions. We're here live to provide an answers to as many questions as we can. All right, I want to start from a quick recap on how to get access to our software. There is a best way to do that is through Autodesk account. So this is single destination where you check the products that you already have to, because very often you have something that you have never tried and you've always had the entitlement to use it, just never tried. If for some reason you don't have the right license at home, you can request home use license from the same place. And if you are a company administrator, this is the place where you can assign users to certain products or entitlement. One place to go, anything about entitlements to Autodesk software. If you want to learn more about this portal and how to use it, we will drop a link in the chat window. So click it and you will see more information about how to use Autodesk account and what you can do with it. All right, next question is, okay, you checked the entitlements, you see what you have, what you don't have, and you don't have the products that you need. In this case, you can benefit from the extended access program that we rolled out to support you during this work from home period. There is not much fine print, so this is delivered to you through the trial experience because it was just the fastest way to give you free access to all of those cloud collaboration solutions that you can see on the screen. So you can use them for free. You don't have to pay. And although you may receive some pop-ups saying, hey, this is trial, this is not the intent. This is like the quickest way possible how we were able to deliver these cloud collaboration solutions to you. And they're currently running till May 31st. It might be extended depending on the situation. Okay, so next step is you have the entitlement, you have the software. How do you access it from home? In case you have single user license under subscription, you can install and access your software instantly. So there is no need to request anything. You just install it and log in with your Autodesk account. If you have maintenance plan, you will have an opportunity to install the second copy of your license. It's allowed for home use, of course. If you have network license, or which is officially known as multi-user, there are several options for you. Option number 1 is to use VPN to connect to the network server. Second option is to borrow the license from the license server if your administrator allows it, or you can also request a home use license, and we will drop the link to more information in here as well. And finally, the Token Flex customers or our enterprise customers, similar approach as for network license, but you get one more option is a public facing server on Azure or AWS. So all of those options available to you to access the licenses. All right, and the next thing, let's go over the all options that you have, how to collaborate from home, right? So option number one, especially if you use Vault, you should probably default to this option. Use VPN to connect to your existing Autodesk Vault repository and just collaborate as usual, right? No big change. You just need to use VPN to connect to your normal repository. If this option is not set up or not available, there is a desktop virtualization option when you access either your machine or a virtual server and you work from home from your home computer, but kind of on more powerful machine. Same thing applied to a Blade server or some kind of cloud server that you have. It's cloud hosting, option number 3. And finally, the option that we will spend probably the biggest percentage of time on this call is cloud collaboration. So those are born in the cloud solutions that we will cover today shortly. But I wanted to pause on the two first steps. First one is VPN connection. So we have a couple of ideas how to optimize VPN by archiving and compress the files. So we will have a link dropped in the chat window, and also all of those links are available in the article that you will receive as a follow-up email. So VPN option number 1, default to it if it's set up in your company. Next option that we have here is virtualization of your software. A lot of products can be virtualized, especially if it's a single user subscription or enterprise business agreement. You can absolutely virtualize it. What you cannot virtualize is software under multi-user subscription or so-called network license, because virtualization of the software will result in violation of our licensing agreement. We are not recommending any specific virtualization platforms, but a lot of them are supported, and we highly recommend you, if this is the topic of interest to you, to read the AKN article that we will drop the link into the chat window as well. All right, and with that, we are going into the last solution that I mentioned is the cloud collaboration, kind of born in the cloud solutions. And I'm giving the stage to a colleague of mine, Jeff Brown. Jeff, let me transition the stage to you in just 1 second.
Excellent, thank you so much. Excited to get started with this. Perhaps you could just let me know really quickly if you can see my screen, make sure I'm presenting properly.
Yes, we can.
Excellent. All right, let's jump into this. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our cloud collaboration workflows. And I'm going to structure this not so much on products, but on what you're trying to accomplish. And I'm going to look at 3 that we typically see people trying to satisfy. And that's either getting feedback on a design, delivering actual 2D or 3D data, and then also collaborating with data. And so I'm going to dig into each one of these workflows a little bit more and talk about the reasons you might want to look at each one, because you may not necessarily need full collaboration. You might just want to get a quick idea and somebody's opinion on something. So I'm going to look a little bit on why you might want to use each one of these. So let's take a look and start first on how you would get feedback on design. And this is arguably the simplest workflow for using cloud collaboration with data. Before I really jump into that though, I kind of want to take a step back and talk about how we're sharing data today, so I can kind of contrast it with these workflows I'm going to be talking about. If it's somebody in your office or you're collaborating with people you're working with, that's been pretty easy. You can use shared drives or ideally a PDM solution like Vault. You can also go to each other's desk. If somebody has a question on the design or manufacturing method or anything like that, you can visit each other and talk those over. When you're not in the same office or you're now working from home, as many of us are, it's a lot more difficult to do that. So a lot of people have kind of relied on either emailing files or screenshots, maybe using a cloud folder like Dropbox or OneDrive or anything like that. Now, those can work, but there's also a lot of limitations. Some of them being, what happens if somebody doesn't have the CAD viewer they need? You know, if everybody's working from home, not everybody has a workstation computer, not everybody has Inventor or AutoCAD installed on it, and it's difficult to open those files. Also, some of those files are very large files, and you can't email a 500 megabyte file if somebody doesn't have sufficient internet speeds. So we need to have a better way of sharing files, data, information that doesn't rely just on email or a Dropbox or anything like that. So let's start about the basic one and of sharing just the visual representation of data. So why would you want to use something like this? What workflow are you trying to achieve? What if you want to share and get feedback, but you don't want to share any intellectual property? And by that, I mean, what if you don't want to share your 3D data? I still want somebody to give me feedback and maybe rotate a design, look at it, tell me if a change I'm proposing will work, but I don't want to send them any CAD data. Sounds like it's not really possible, but I'll talk about how that is in a second. Another big thing is, what happens if they don't have the CAD viewer? I need to be able to give them an efficient way to explore my designs without ever needing to download something. So shared views is kind of the answer to that. Here's the gist of how this works. In this case, Vault or Inventor, a single button click allows me to upload a lightweight viewable to the web, the cloud, an internet, a browser, whatever term we're going to use, and it allows anybody else with sufficient privileges to, either with a computer or with a mobile device, view my model, spin it around in 3D, section view it, mark it up, any of that without ever needing to download anything. They can just do it natively in their web browser. And this really facilitates collaboration because it's so easy. Well, let me jump into a quick example. I'll show you how this works now that I've kind of briefly described that. So right, in this case, in the Inventor, it's a single button click, create a new shared view. I can choose whether I want to allow or hide part names, properties. That helps me keep a little bit of data secure if I need that. Then now we're looking at a web browser. This is the model. It's full 3D. I can section view it. I can rotate it. I can explode it. I can measure it. Everything that you'd expect from a design review tool. But in this case, nobody ever needed to download anything. All they needed to do is open my web link. I can comment, mark up, and what's so great about this is this markup is now taken as a snapshot. This exact view, this exact exploded state, section information. Now that comment is logged associated with this assembly. I can send this data to anybody else. They can also see all the comments that we've created. They can also comment back. And what you can really see here, and this is so fantastic, is we can see the exact view that comment was created on. What's really helpful here is while we're all collaborating either on a computer or on a mobile device in this case, this data is also pushed right back into Inventor, so your Inventor user can see these exact same comments of what changes we should make. They can then make those changes immediately in Inventor. Now, what's really nice about this too, I mentioned a lot about data security. This is arguably one of your most secure methods because you're never actually sending data. What you're really sending is a web link to a viewable. That viewable can't be downloaded. It can't be reverse engineered because they don't have any CAD data. They only have the viewable. And those links all expire after 30 days. So once you've gotten that information on, that yes or no, or that change you've proposed, that's it. They never have anything further. So it's a really wonderful method. Now, how would you get this kind of information, or how do you get shared views, that is? In order to get that, it's pretty simple. In general, it's if you're on subscription with a variety of kind of flagship Autodesk products here, and you're on 2019 or newer, that's when it was introduced, you have shared views. Just check out for the button to share that view, and that's all there is to it. It's a really simple method. Now, the next step up of this is, that one was, what if you want to just share your visual representation? You just needed to get that, that yes or no from somebody or propose a quick change. What if you now need to share your data? We're kind of stepping up the level and complexity. And I don't just mean 3D data. That's obviously awesome, but we can still share 2D data like Word files, PowerPoints, Excel documents, emails, really whatever you want. Now, that's great. A lot of things, a lot of products out there are made for sharing data like that. You know, we have Dropbox, OneDrive, Google Docs, yeah, all that kind of stuff. Here's where they kind of fall down though. They're great for sharing things like, as I just mentioned, PowerPoints, Word documents, Excel spreadsheets. But CAD documents are much more difficult. You need a CAD-aware solution. And here's what I mean when I say CAD-aware. If you think of, of an assembly structure in, say, Inventor, or really this could be any CAD environment, you typically have a project file, maybe folders. Within those are drawings, assemblies, and those can have sub-assemblies or sub-parts, which can then have further sub-assemblies or further sub-parts, which all have drawings associated to each one. And then there's a drawing of the top-level assembly. There's a whole spider web of parent-child relationships and XREFs. Something like Google Drive, Dropbox, OneDrive, any of those, they don't understand those relationships in the same way that your native systems or a PDM system does. So when you upload those, they just live in a dummy state until they get re-downloaded back down to somebody's computer and kind of get reassembled. Now, another scenario, and I think we've all been in this, I certainly know I have been working at Autodesk and then SolidWorks before this, so I've been in CAD a long time, where you get an enormous amount of data that has just a random string of numbers. You know, these I'm sure make a lot of sense to somebody who's created them, but if somebody sent me a whole zip file full of these and said, hey, can you give me your thoughts on this bracket that I want to change? I have no idea which one this bracket is. There's just a whole bunch of numbers. So I have to open each one just to figure out what one I'm looking for so I can give my thoughts on the change. That's really complex. So that's why we have Autodesk Drive. It's a cloud drive solution, kind of like OneDrive, kind of like Dropbox, but it's CAD aware. You can still view models in 3D in the same way you saw with shared views. We can spin them around, section view them, all of that great stuff. We can now organize them into a folder structure and then share that with other people. So we're now taking a step further where the data can be shared and collaborated on. So here's what we're looking at in this case. Now, in this example, I'm in a web browser. I'm starting out that way already. I still have my same familiar folder structure. Accessing through that, and this is a big important thing, is it's not a change of workflow. We're still using the same folder structures that we've always been doing so that we don't have to relearn anything. Within the folder, we have an assembly, and it automatically recognizes all the child components, giving me thumbnails for each one, so I don't have to try to guess at part and file names. I also have all the drawings associated with the assembly. I can, as we saw with the shared views, I can also rotate this in 3D. I still have measure capabilities. I have section views. I have rotate, explode capabilities. I can even see the entire feature tree of this model or part and assembly tree to know what components make it up. I can isolate certain components. I can hide some, change my views, all of that, once again, without downloading anything. So this still can be viewed without, just on the web. Maybe I just want to get another manager's thought on this. But what's even better is if I am trying to collaborate with the data, I've uploaded it to the web. My end user, the person I'm sending it to, can view all the data in the web to see which one they want to open. They can either download the file or they can launch it into Inventor or whatever product this was created in directly from that link. It's immediately downloaded to them and open in their CAD system of choice, Inventor in this case. The only workflow difference, or the only way you would even know this was a cloud-based file, is if you look on the assembly structure on the left-hand side there, is you see a little cloud icon next to each part. That's the only difference. Otherwise, within Inventor or within AutoCAD or within whatever we're using, honestly, we even work with competitor CAD formats, even SolidWorks. So if they open in SolidWorks, they'd see the same thing. The workflow doesn't change. Now we're using the benefit of sharing the data over cloud instead of a network drive or something that's not going to work if we're in different countries or different cities or not connected to the same VPN network or anything like that. So here's a little bit of details on Autodesk Drive. You get it by having it as part of your supported, it's part of a subscription. So if you're on subscription, once again, with our main flagship products, you get Autodesk Drive. You have 25 gigs of cloud storage. It supports over 60 different types of files, both Autodesk and third party. And when I say third party, I don't just mean like Windows files or things like that. I mean even competitor CAD data. We recognize you can throw SOLIDWORKS assembly in there and view it in 3D and see all the parent-child relationships, just as I did with that Inventor file. It's a very robust system. And I'm going to talk about this after I talk about Fusion Team, but it utilizes Autodesk Drive, which means you can either upload your data through the web interface, like by a drag and drop or clicking upload, or synchronize it to your computer and have it do that all in the background. But I'm going to cover that in just a minute, so stay tuned. The next level I want to talk about is we've looked at sharing data, we've looked at transferring 2D and 3D data. Now let's take it a step further and talk about bidirectional data exchange, not just with your local data, but also with vaulted data. So we're really talking about full collaboration here. So the best way I can really describe what Fusion Team is it's the collaborative capabilities of shared views combined with the data sharing capabilities of Autodesk Drive, but with even more robust project and collaboration security protocols. So this is a little bit of a busy slide, but I think it'll make a lot of sense because most of this is what we've seen. We have our data in the hub, in the cloud, in the center. We can interact with the models just like you saw in Autodesk Drive and just like you saw in shared views. We can view them in 2D or 3D or a variety of file formats. Again, here's where it differs though. We have a ton of control over people permissions and either assign permissions based on people or by project. We have full comment and markup capabilities, kind of like you saw in Fusion, in shared views, except now the comments are version specific. So if I make a comment on a file, make a change and then overwrite it, that comment stays there, but it lets me know that it's to a previous version. And maybe that comment isn't relevant anymore. So it tracks comment history in a much more robust fashion. And it still allows that full sharing and collaboration of files. So here's the gist of how you set this up. It's actually really simple. You sign up, you sign in. Remember, you don't have to download anything. This, like all these other solutions, is completely cloud-based. Invite your people, assign them permissions, and then just populate with data. And data can be populated 3 ways. I already mentioned, at least with Autodesk Drive, we can upload the data directly from the web. We can use Autodesk Drive, we can use the Desktop Connector to synchronize our local desktop data to the cloud, or we can also synchronize Fusion Team with Vault Pro. I'm not going to get way into that. We have a lot of really good information on how to do that in with Project Sync. So if you do have further questions, we can always follow up on the details of how to synchronize that data. And then lastly, you just use this. You can view your models, you can mark them up, you can collaborate them. Let me show you a little bit about how this one works. So as I kind of talked about in the previous ones, we're able to view both mobile as well as on a desktop. But here's where things differ. You'll notice as we make comments on this part, it's also version specific. This is version 19. I can track when this comment was made, who made it. Then from perhaps a completely different computer, we can find that same view, decide what we're going to do on this, because remember, the collaboration aspect is one of the things that really sets Fusion Team apart from Drive or from shared views. I also have full capability of sharing the data, but also either password protecting it or preventing download of information. What's really great is if we do want to allow download, we can download in whatever file format they choose. This has always been a really big pain. If you're trying to send data, you send somebody an Inventor file and they go, oh, I needed a step file. Or you send somebody a step file and they say, I actually need an IGES file. And it's a huge hassle to get the right data format. In this case, they get to choose. They get to pick the right data format. What you also notice too is there are multiple versions automatically being tracked. I know which comments are associated with each version. Then the users can find, download, and act on this data anywhere, whether you're in the same office, whether you're in, well, completely different office, different countries, different parts of the world. We have access to all this data and we're able to talk through it, collaborate, and record our changes. What really makes this amazing is not just that it's cloud collaboration, that's great, but the ability to do so seamlessly. And this is really what I think what sets it apart is Autodesk Desktop Connector. Now this works with both Autodesk Drive, Fusion 360, and BIM 360. Think of Desktop Connector a little bit like OneDrive or Dropbox. You know how you can download and they have a folder that kind of sits on your computer, and if you drag and drop anything into that folder, it will then upload that to the cloud. Or if somebody else uploads data into their OneDrive or Dropbox, it then also appears on your computer. This is kind of like that, but there's a very critical distinction that I want to make and make sure everybody understands is, number one is, in anything like Dropbox, OneDrive, etc., the way those work is if I load a file into that file lives on my computer, it gets copied to the cloud, and then it also gets copied to everybody else that's connected to that same drive and same folder. And if you imagine something with a lot of CAD documents, as soon as we start adding a lot of assemblies, everybody has every one of those files. There could potentially be 50 to 100 to, I guess, depends how many people we have connected, 1,000 people, 1,000 duplicates of these files all around. And I've had this before where my drives start getting full because somebody else is uploading enormous files to it that I don't need. So your data, that data lives on your computer whether you need it or not. That's a big problem. Here's where where Desktop Connector is very different from those. There is only ever one file and it lives on the cloud only. And here's what I mean by that is the drive still appears on your computer. You can still open the drive, you can see the files, you can see the dates, you can see all the information, but the file actually is not on your computer. It's not taking up any hard drive space. If I double click on the file, just like I would to open, say, an Inventor file, what really happens in the background is it's quickly downloaded, it takes just a couple seconds, and Inventor opens it like usual. I edit the file in Inventor, and when I click save, it's immediately uploaded back to the cloud and doesn't take up any space on my computer. What's really special about that is, A, it doesn't take up space. You're not wasting a bunch of space and information on something you don't need. But more specifically is there's only ever, it's a single source of truth. There's only ever one file. So I don't have to worry about multiple different files all floating around. And if somebody loses internet, then they don't have the right version of the file like you would with some of these other cloud solutions. There is one file, so we don't have to worry about that. And that's what makes Desktop Connector so special. And it's completely seamless. Your OS and your programs see it as a regular drive. So you can still use all your software like Inventor, AutoCAD, any on-premise software, doesn't even realize it's using cloud data. Kind of like you just saw me doing with that Arbor Press in the last example. So those are the three different things to kind of wrap this up that we looked about in terms of workflows for cloud collaboration. We talked about just simply sharing your data with the visuals using shared views. We talked about actually sending data, whether it be 2D or 3D, using Autodesk Drive. And lastly, we talked about kind of the highest level, which is full collaboration, including vaulted data, using Fusion Team. I hope that helps everybody out by understanding a little bit better some of the workflows that are available to you over the cloud. And I believe with that, I'm going to turn it over to Timur, who's going to talk a little bit about the Vault API with Forge.
Thank you, Jeff. I'll just be sharing my screen now. So Anton and Jeff, please let me know if you guys can see my screen.
We got it.
Okay, cool. So so this is Tamil Mandal, if you guys haven't seen me in the previous other sessions. So I'm a designated support specialist for Autodesk. So today I'll be covering two interesting topics. That's having to know about the Vault API and also a little bit about our new technology Forge. So I'll not deep dive into any of these topics, just give you some overview to get some interest going on, have some basic conceptual ideas about these two areas, so you guys can get started quickly and get some idea what you can achieve from these two. Okay, so Jeff talked a very good detail about how you can collaborate using Vault, especially the built-in project sync function that gives you the ability to share data in Autodesk cloud systems like BIM 360, Fusion Teams, or Autodesk Drive. Now, that doesn't really stop Vault from connectivity point of view. Using Vault API, you can actually build your own connectivity with any other cloud collaboration system available in the world. So Vault API comes as an SDK, software development kit, with your Vault client installation. And as you know, Vault is not a single software. It has several components. There is a server component, there is a client component, and also there are some tools gets installed when you install Vault client into your system. Especially, I want to talk about the job processor, which is also an independent software that runs to execute jobs from Vault server. So all these major three components, the Vault client, the Vault server, and the job processor, has their own type of API or SDK available so that you can build your own application. The first one, the server-based application, you can create using the web service API. So the first image, what you can see here is a standalone application which you can build using Microsoft Visual Studio, using the .NET framework, and the server web service APIs. So this application runs in your desktop. It doesn't require anything else. It runs by on its own. You just have to log into the server, and it can upload, download files from Vault server. And if you know the SDKs from the other systems or any other cloud collaboration or any other data management solution, you can easily connect Vault with those systems, so you can transfer files, share documents easily. The second one is the Vault Client API. This kind of application requires the Vault client to be running in the background. So your application sits inside the Vault client. So you can have this application running in the background, so the user doesn't get to see what's happening. So it can run based on the events, like when you create a document, when you delete a document, or when you create a new folder. Based on these events, the application can run. It can also run based on user interaction. So it sits on a certain location of the menu or the toolbar. So the user clicks and your application runs. So it actually does the same thing, but it's not an independent application. It requires Vault client to be running in the background. The last one is the job processor application. So you can actually create your own custom jobs using this API. So as Jeff was saying about the project sync functionality in Vault, it actually does the actual operation, like syncing the file to and from Autodesk Cloud System using the job processor. So when you do a project sync, when you try to sync something from the Vault client, it actually queues the job in the Vault job queue, and at the end, the job processor handles the job by connecting to whether BIM 360 Docs or Fusion Teams or Autodesk Drive to sync the files between these two systems. So using these three kind of APIs, you can actually liberate your Vault from being an on-premise data management solution to connect it to any cloud-based data management solution. So say, for example, Google Drive, OneDrive, Amazon AWS, ProjectWise, Aconex, Teamcenter, or name it. You can, as long as you have the capability of accessing the API of those cloud systems, you can quickly and easily connect your Vault server or on-premise Vault server to this system to share and collaborate data from it, to and from it. Now, there's a very good blog site available. Vault API has been around for quite a while now, and it is very mature. And you can get started with this blog article, blog website, just ones and zeros, typeit.com. This has got a very good set of tutorials where you can get started with the Vault API easily. Now, the next one I wanted to cover is a little bit about Autodesk Forge. Now, I thought it's good to know about it because Autodesk Forge is the behind technology on all the Autodesk cloud system. So if you want to know about Forge, there's a lot of learning materials available right now online. You can get started. I'll just today give you a quick idea on the different APIs we have in Forge and how it can help you to collaborate with your data. Now, Forge has been around for a long time with Autodesk. It wasn't named Forge. So we had like the APIs available for BIM 360 and also Fusion Team and also PLM 360, which is now known as the Fusion Lifecycle. So what we did, we grouped all those API together and also added a few APIs into it and grouped this product as Forge. Now, Forge is a collection of API, and the highlighted items are the data management, the viewer, design automation, and recap, the reality capture API. So these four are the main highlights of the API. There are a few APIs, useful ones, but I won't be talking about those. These four APIs are mainly associated with helping you collaborate in your data. Now, using data management API, what you can do, you can connect your application, any design application, any engineering application, any data management solution with our cloud data management system, BIM 360 Docs, Fusion Team, or A360 Personal Hub. You can also use our viewer API to make really cool looking web applications that can display your design data online. So if you have seen already our shared view functionality, that actually uses the viewer API in the backend for displaying the data you want to show. The design automation API, that's a very nice one. At this moment, if you think you don't have access to any Autodesk software in your desktop, you cannot work from home, or you do not have access to any of the desktop products, you can actually right now use the core functionalities of AutoCAD, 3ds Max, Revit, or Inventor using the Forge API. So if you can build a small application or any small functionality wrapped application that can actually utilize the core engine of all this software, AutoCAD, 3ds Max, Revit, or Inventor in the cloud using this design automation API. So you can have your own application running in your desktop that actually connects with the cloud engine, having all the core engines available to utilize the core functionalities of all this design software. So if you want to learn more about Forge, please let us know. We can provide you good links where you can get started. And this is just to let you know that you can utilize Forge and Vault together to also Vault API together to really utilize what you cannot achieve out of the box to enable the collaboration. Okay, so that's all from my side, Anton. So the next part is probably Q&A. So I'll hand it over to you.
Right, excellent. Taimur, thank you so much for covering this topic. And it's kind of It's the end of our journey. We've been hosting these webinars for 4 weeks. Every week we hosted it. The recordings are available, and you will receive the email in your inbox with the link, right? But I will also post it in here. All the sessions are recorded, and in every sessions we went through a similar format. Overview of the solutions and a little bit deeper dive into certain area, and kind of this design automation topic is a great final topic. So Timur, thank you for covering it. So feel free to submit any questions that you have for your environment or anything that was covered today. And I have one outstanding question, and I have to apologize that I provided inaccurate initial answer about Fusion Team, and I'm wondering if Jeff or Timur, you can cover it. That the question is that Fusion Team about the assembly structure of inventor files by Fusion Team. Does it provide the properties and assemblies and associated drawings, etc.? Does it provide this information or not? I was for some reason 100% sure it's there. So can one of you address this question or not?
Yes, I'm trying to pop out this question right now. Fusion Team should have all the assembly structure information as well as properties information. In short, depending on how it can give you different results. Sometimes it will simply be viewable as a single file. Sometimes it will be an entire assembly structure, and it's really with all the sub parts. I'm guessing the question is related to that. In short, and this is a really complex one to try to explain, if you try to upload via Autodesk Drive and like say drag the entire, maybe a folder that has a whole assembly in it, it will correctly identify what the top level assembly is as well as all the subcomponents. If you try to simply drag and drop an assembly in, I've had less luck with it understanding the assembly structure. I'm hoping that answers the question. It should understand all of that, but depending on your upload method, it can change. I'll see if I can dig up, especially if we know who asked that question, I'll see if I can dig up some information on that we can send, because it's a very hard one to explain verbally.
Yeah, because I was also under impression that just earlier today in the morning, we saw the demonstration with all the file structure, and even with the DWGs, not only Inventor, with AutoCAD files, we saw all the XREFs and everything was there. Anyway, so if we didn't answer the question because I provided the extra link from Brian Shannon, the article that summarizes how to use Fusion Team and Inventor. If it does not help, please drop me an email. We will get this problem addressed for you, Richard. Okay, so let's wait for, oh, okay, this is a little bit more complicated. So I guess we will try to address it offline. Richard, if you don't mind, drop us an email and we will get it sorted out for you. While we still have a little bit of time for questions and answers, I wanted to quickly recap everything. This has been 45-minute presentation, a lot of information, but it's down to, I would say, 4 simple steps. First one is to check your Autodesk account and see what kind of entitlements you already have access to, right? If the solutions that we spoke about are not on the list at the moment, you can access them for free through the extended access program, which we shared information about. If you need help, contact your reseller, because they will always be open to help you, or Autodesk support. And finally, we highly recommend you to review the remote collaboration page that was created for every product. And I will drop the links in the chat window. Please take a look, copy and paste them in your browser or in the notepad. And we still have a couple of minutes for questions. So let me check if we have any. And it looks like we don't have any questions. Again, we hope that it was useful. We tried to cover a lot of things that are available to you. A lot of the tools that we just covered, we use them ourselves to collaborate. So I hope it's useful for you as well. And with that, we would like to wrap up this presentation and the series. If you have any more questions, please reach out to your reseller or Autodesk product support. Will be more than happy to help you out with any questions that you have. And with that, huge thanks for all of you for joining, to our presenters for your great presentations, and have a good rest of your day. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.